So Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray are going scorched earth and then some right now. Mitchell's had a couple 50-point games. Jamal Murray just saved the Nuggets off of a 42-point game where he scored 1,000,000 points in a row in the fourth quarter, whatever it was. He had a 50-pointer against the Jazz in Game 4. He had 36 in Game 1. And eventually I'm going to split this video off into like Murray's section and Mitchell's section, but just to talk about both of them for a little bit. You know, these were two guys who we were kind of waiting for this. I mean, Mitchell was farther along than Murray was. But even so, if you really dove into the stuff, all the nerdy stuff with Mitchell, it didn't completely back up the eye test. Now, even then, you could say, well, his responsibility was way too high early on. Fair. But there's no denying it now. And in the case of Murray, it was a similar thing, although with Murray, even the eye test wasn't as nice, because you'd see games where great shooter, great pull-up guy, slippery off the ball, nobody can stay in front of him, and then other games it was either simply not doing enough or can't read the defense well enough. I mean, hell, this is a very positive video for Jamal Murray, but it should be said, we kind of saw it in games 2 and 3 of this series, 14 points, 12 points, missing shots, like kind of whatever, right? But we have seen the Jamal Murray that we've been waiting for 3 times of this series, and I'm just going to assume that moving forward in this suddenly very exciting round 1 series, that Murray can keep it up. Now, as far as whether the Nuggets can win, that's a tough one. I mean, they dug themselves a 3-1 hole and off of 2 blowout losses and then 1 really close loss. I did not do a prediction video for this series. I would have predicted the Nuggets to win. So, clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. But now they got more of a chance because of Murray, obviously. So, alright, let's talk about Mitchell a little bit. The thing with Mitchell that is so impressive right now against Denver, the scoring is nuts. I know that. The passing has been legit as well. 3 games with at least 7 assists. This previous game he had 5 assists. And he's doing the thing that you kind of questioned with him, right? Is he not going to get tunnel vision going to the rim? Is he going to be able to just make a defense pay for bringing extra defenders on him? And is he going to spot the open guy in the corner fast enough? And he's doing all that so far. Now he's also benefiting from a Nuggets defense that has been bad. They are dropping on his screens and they're just giving him jump shots all day. Sometimes he's just getting by Jokic anyway. Michael Porter Jr. can't do anything out there. But still, he's playing so well right now that I think he could do it against any defense. And the contested threes is kind of the wildest part. I mean, he has suddenly gotten extremely good at using screens to get open for a pull-up three-pointer. I mean, whether it's faking out the defender as if he's acting like he's going to go into the screen and then he goes and crosses over the other way real quick, or just pulls up on a big guy who isn't even that far away from him on some of these plays against Denver. It doesn't matter, man. I mean, he's even taken a couple of step backs. He's just had a couple where he just pulled up. I mean, he had the big one against Millsap, of course. Like, if Donovan Mitchell is suddenly going to be this contested three-point shot-making guy who is still able to get to the rim, he was always able to do that, and he's going to be better at finding the open dude and stuff, well, then that's a top 15 player or something. And he was doing it without Mike Conley for a couple of these games, and Conley's been huge for them, suddenly looking like the Grizzlies version of himself. But, Mitchell was running point guard a lot for them early in this series, and he looked totally fine, under control, and making all of the right reads and stuff, and I think that just shows how much confidence Quinn Snyder has in him. Now, it also shows that they were really desperate for ball handlers without Mike Conley, but even so, I feel like they really embraced Mitchell as the primary ball handler, and now even with Conley back, there are possessions where Conley brings it up, gives it to Mitchell, and then goes stands in the corner. So this team and this coaching staff is clearly comfortable with Mitchell handling the ball a lot more and not just being the finisher or whatever on plays. Now, there are some times when, he just catches a spot up 3 or whatever, but you get it. If we move on to Jamal Murray, so I will eventually get back to the series as a whole and kind of predict where it's going to go from here, but if we talk about Jamal Murray, the biggest thing with him was always aggressiveness. And he's doing it. I mean, how long have I been saying that I want Jamal Murray to shoot more threes? Well, he shot 15 in Game 4. He shot 8 in this previous game. He shot 9 in Game 1. And it seems like Murray at a certain point has decided in these games to move away from the Nuggets offense of ball movement and all that stuff and just says, give me the damn ball and let me go to work. Which is great. And then he's making the shots like we think he can. I mean, I feel like Murray's reputation as a shooter has always been a little better than his actual output as a shooter, but he's doing it in this series. I mean, the contested shots that he was hitting in Game 5 were pretty wild. I mean, there were 2 in particular where he just took his guy off the bounce. I think one of them was Mitchell, the other one might have been Royce O'Neal, if I remember right. Takes his guy off the dribble, hits him with a couple moves, and then just takes a step back like 17-footer. They both just went right through. I mean, those are star player shots. Those are $30 million guys who don't deserve to be labeled as overpaid shots, if that made sense. And once again, he's shooting the threes as well, which is the thing that I've always wanted from him. Because, I mean, how many threes per game does Murray usually attempt? Like 5? It's not enough based on how good of a shooter he should be. So it's good that he's simply taken more, and he's doing this against a good defense. I mean, he's had some layups where he's finished around Gobert or something as well. The free throws are still not very high with Murray, so that could be something to make note of, but the shots are just simply going in. And again, it's because he's not going to shoot this well all the time, but it's the idea of just taking over and having that mentality more so than just falling into the Nuggets, everybody touches the ball thing, which, I mean, that's good. There's value in that, certainly, but sometimes you just got to be like, give me the damn ball and let me go to work. And it's good to see Murray just take on that mentality sometimes. Now, if we talk about this series moving forward, I mean, Utah, they're still in a good spot. We're going to a Game 6 here. If it wasn't for Murray's barrage, then the Jazz would have won in Game 6. You know, for Denver, I think they got to decide right now between Michael Porter Jr. and anybody else. I mean, Mike Malone has tried some things. He's shuffled the lineup around, and kind of nothing is working defensively for them right now. But MPJ especially has been bad on defense. He simply doesn't know what he's doing on defense in the NBA. And, you know, if you just don't play him, I think that's fine. I don't think anybody's going to call you crazy for just playing him like 7 minutes. I mean, he probably still should have played more in the regular season, that's fair. But with where we are right now, there's no time to mess around. You don't play guys because of potential. You play based on who can help you win right now. And if MPJ is going to kill you on defense, then you don't play him. I think they've got to have Jokic step up on the screens more because they're just giving Mitchell these walk-in 15-footers. I think they've done it a little bit more as the series has gone on, but I think from now on, you can't mess around with the drop coverage too much. I mean, there's 2 different kinds of drop coverage. There's what the Bucks do, which is as the big man drops, the primary defender finds a way to get around the screen really quickly, and they kind of force the ball handler into this awkward spot, versus what the Nuggets have been doing, which is the defender dies on the screen and the big man just stands there. Like, those are 2 very different things. So, hopefully there's just more general activity on those. I mean, Millsap has not been too good this series, but even so, I mean, if you're just picking guys who can defend for you, you assume he's out there. Jeremy Grant has been maybe the closest thing they've had to a 2-way player in this series. I think he's got to be out there for his defense. I mean, maybe you're just going Murray, Torrey Craig, Jeremy Grant at small forward. Yeah, I know. Millsap at the 4, Jokic at the 5. Like, is there a better defensive lineup for these guys while still having Murray and Jokic out there? I mean, they've already been starting with Grant and Millsap in there, so I don't even think it'd be that huge of an adjustment. Now, would the Jazz dare Torrey Craig to take shots? Yeah, but I mean, their defense has been terrible, man. Like, you might just have to be forced to go to that. Now, it should be said with Utah, they are shooting like crazy in this series. They've been above 40% from 3, I think, every game, or at least most of them. And, I mean, again, the Nuggets have been giving up open shots, so that's part of it. But even so, you'd think even if you just played bad defense, you'd still have like one game where they throw you a bone and shoot like 31% from outside, you know what I mean? And I guess it kind of happened in game 1, but the last few games the Jazz are just shooting lights out from 3, so and I guess you hope that goes down a little bit if you're Denver, but obviously you've got to do a better job of sticking with guys and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, Utah certainly has the odds in their favor. I think if the Nuggets end up losing this series, then they're going to have to decide if Mike Malone is the long-term coach for this team or not. So we'll see what happens.